How many people from the Linux user group are here? Right, okay, well, you may find that I'm going to be teaching my grandmother how to suck eggs for you guys, so I do apologise. But for everyone else who sort of sees the terminal as that really scary thing, that black box that they have to go into every now and again, they try to avoid, I'm hopefully going to show you that it ain't all that bad and feel a bit more like a pro, like a boss. So I want to talk about Vim first of all. Vim is that that horrible text editor that you get as default on most systems. If you're really in a bag of hurt, then your old friends like Nano are nowhere to be found, and Vi or Vim are all that you've got. And what do they tell you about Vim? It's a mobile editor. That's not good to anyone. What does that mean? When I read that, it was useless to me. So, what is a modal editor? Vim, as opposed to most sort of editors that you're familiar with, things like Notepad or any glorified IDE, is essentially a single mode editor, which means that you have insert mode, and that's it. So whenever you type on the keyboard, you're inserting that text into the document. You may have some clever, control hotkeys or something like that, but really that's all you have. Vim is a modal editor, so it has the insert mode. It works, like what you're familiar with. But you've also got normal mode and insert. There's insert mode twice. That's obviously wrong. Ignore this bit here. Just use my head to block that out. That should say visual mode up there. So you've got insert mode, visual mode, and normal mode. And what you usually do is when you come into Vim, first of all, you're in normal mode. And if you've ever been in that situation where you fire up Vim because you need to edit some file, and you've got the text in front of you, but you can't quite get at it, then you're trying to type and cursor's jumping around and all sorts of weird stuff. It's because you're in normal mode. And I'm going to ask Gareth to take the microphone now. I'm just going to just go in. That's really. Has it got to be right there? So I'm going to fire up Vim now, and I'm going to. What have I got? Let's see if I've got something. Okay, so I've got a document there. So as soon as I bring up a file, as soon as I bring something up in
I'll just keep it to you.
As soon as you, I'm going to come back out and do that again. So you're on a shelf somewhere or some remote box, and you try typing nano and command not found. So you're going to try editing it in Vi or Vim. Just for the record, Vim and Vi are the same thing. Vim literally means Vi improved. It gives you a few extra commands, but the fundamentals I'm going to show you are the same. So take that. So I'm just going to edit a file now. So we get that. And now I want to start typing text below it, and I start pressing stuff, and it's just weird stuff starts happening. So that's because I'm in normal mode, and normal mode doesn't insert text into the document. What I actually have is the ability to move around the document really easily. I'll show you that in a moment, but first of all, I want to show you what you actually want to do, which is to start putting text into this file. And the way that you do that is you go into insert mode, which you do by pressing I. So let's do that, and you'll see down here that Vim now tells us that we're in insert mode. So we can actually, start typing words straight into that. We can delete that and change it to an H2, and then use the right arrow to move all the way along. That's really, really tedious, and you'll see why you're wasting your time doing that. So now I'm in insert mode. I've made the changes that I want to make. I can hit escape to get out of insert mode and get back to normal mode. So I can hit escape. The other thing that I quite like is because the whole idea of an editor like this is that you never have to move your fingers from the home row. So I quite like using control and left square bracket. That does the same thing, which is actually, depends on your shell that you're using, but most of the time that works. And the other thing you've got is, ignore this thing that says insert mode. This should say visual mode. And that's essentially like, when you click and drag to select, an area of text. So you hit V to go into visual mode, and then again, we can sort of select an area of text, and then we can hit escape to get out of it. That's fascinating, I'm sure you'll agree. So let's talk about normal mode and the things we can do. I want to edit a big document here. I must have something somewhere. Show important stuff. Find something with loads of stuff in it. Boring. Come on, I should have, obviously you can tell my preparation here has been awful. Okay. Come on, do something. Yeah. Okay, it's a nice big file. There we go. So we're in normal mode. So we can do normal stuff like page down, page up to jump around the file, but we can also do other interesting stuff. So the motions are the most important thing, the most important part of Vim's normal mode. You may have seen I've been using the arrow keys so far at much restraint. The way that you're supposed to do it, if you want to be a pro, is to use, again, keep your hands on the home row. So you want to be, I'm not pressing the Alt key, there we go. So we've got H, J, K and L, and you can see there, so if I press J, I go down a line, I press K, I go up. Fine, just cross that, so, and then H to go left, and L to go right. And that's sort of like replacement for the arrow keys. But the idea is you want to, block those out of your memory because you want to get your hands on the home row and keep them there. So I can jump around in normal mode. I don't have to go into insert mode and use the arrow keys to jump around. But I can also do really other things that, once they look pretty boring. You can just jump ahead words and backwards and stuff like that. Doesn't seem that exciting, but all of a sudden it allows me to just, if I'm in here, let's say the cursor's there, and I want to edit that word that's on the end, and I can just quickly, press that, and I can jump along much quicker. And I can also press B to jump back a word. And I can do things like, say I'm on this word and I want to edit the end of the word, then I can just hit E, and it'll take me to the end of that word, or it'll take me to the end of the next word if I'm already on the end of the word that I'm on. So things like that, are really useful. Especially if you're, because most editors that you're used to, you're in insert mode, editing a bunch of stuff, and I want to get the cursor over to here, and that's just, I've got to hold, I've got to go and grab the mouse, or I've got to, use an arrow key. But now I don't have to do that. I can just, if I've typed a bit of text, I can just hit escape, and then hit E a bunch of times, and then go along to the end. And the other thing that's useful for navigating a big file is you've got double G will take you to the beginning of the file, big G will take you to the end of the file, and also I can do things like, let's say I want to go to line 100, 100G, and it will just take you, it will jump you may not have seen it, let me do 10G. So that will jump me to the, that line number. And that sort of ties into some of the other important things you can do. These, for example, these motion commands that I've given, there are hundreds, and these are just, this is just scratching the surface. You can do things like, let's say I want to jump forward 2 words. So I just type 3W, and it will take me, across 3 words, which it takes a bit of time to get used to that because you're used to, using Notepad and just, plonking the cursor somewhere and just holding an arrow key or grabbing the mouse and getting where you want to go. With this, you actually take a bit more time about what you're actually thinking, and you want to say, right, I want to edit that word that's 4 words away, so I just hit 4W, and it will take me there. So that's just scratching the surface really, but obviously you want the meat and potatoes. You want to know how you actually edit a file or open a file. So we can do stuff like, there's another mode to Vim which can be a bit sort of confusing because you just start typing and it goes into it automatically. You've got another command mode which all commands start with a colon. So you just colon E, and then the path that you actually want to, what you actually want to get to. And it's going to nag at me because I've made changes to this file. So if you put an exclamation mark after E, then it will just forget what you've done so far and it will just tell it to do it. So colon E is like how you edit a file, and then you've got colon W to just save that file. And Vim's help is fantastic. This stuff, it looks so alien, but anything that you've ever got, any sort of problems with, all you've got to do is just type colon help, and then that one there, and you'll see it takes me straight to the motion commands there, and it's fantastic for, the help isn't just, a bunch of words that don't make any sense. It actually explains, like, it doesn't assume that you know what you're doing. It makes things, pretty clear, and I really like that. Now, I haven't got any slides prepared for the other cool things I was going to show you, but once you get used to Vim, you can start doing really cool things, like you can start splitting windows vertically, and you can edit, you can get around things really quickly. And what I've done is I've disabled all my plugins so that you don't see the cool stuff. But you do get things like file navigation built in, so you can just edit a directory as opposed to, a file, and it will let you, you can navigate around pretty quickly. Yeah, there we go. It's a big directory. It was caching. It's because I've got this thing in the way. But yeah, so it's got some really cool stuff built in. You haven't got to be scared of this. It has some. You may see it as archaic, but this stuff has been around since the 70s. So it's got to be good for a reason. So Q gets you out there, run away, and just help. You can just type help by itself, and you'll get into the main help file, or help, or any sort of command that you're confused about, and it will help you out. So the next thing that I want to show you really quickly is Screen. Now, Screen is an awesome bit of kit, and before I heard about Screen a lot of times, I'd say it was a terminal multiplexer, and that didn't mean anything to me. But what I did find myself doing was opening lots and lots of shell windows to the same box, because I wanted to, watch a log file and edit a config at the same time. But Screen lets me do all that through a single session, and actually I've got Screen running on this local desktop, local shell that I've got running here. But I'm just going to start a new shell just so that you can get a feel for it. So I'm just going to shell into a box. I can't do that because I haven't got any Wi-Fi. Okay, so it's alright because I've killed my local config. So this is what Screen looks like if you just run it like that. It doesn't look very pretty. You get the notice. Just hit space to kill that. And what it does, it just drops you back to a shell. You think, big whoop, what's that going to do? But let's say I want to do something really interesting. So I'm tailing a log now, and I want to follow it as well, just so it's always running. Let's imagine that that's some process, you've kicked off a shell script on a remote server, and that process is going to take a while. And you know that you probably had this problem before where your shell connection drops, and then the processes that you started die. With Screen, it actually encapsulates all of the processes that you start underneath it. So if I actually kill this window now, and if I just start, imagine that I've just lost my shell connection. So now I'm just going to start a new one. Now, if I start Screen again, it just brings me back into a new thing. I don't know what that is. So I kill that. But let's say I do Screen dash reattach, brings me back to that session that I had before. So that's really useful for if you're on a dodgy connection, or if you've got something where it's the end of the day, starting a process and you want to walk off and come back in the morning and know that even if you've lost your session, you can get back to where you were. So that's one thing. I'm tailing a log. That's just one small feature of Screen. The key of Screen is that it allows you to do things like you can create multiple windows and you can create splits. So what I'm actually going to do now, I'm going to Control A is the that's how you get into Screen. It's all of Screen's power lies within the Control A key combo. So I'm going to Control A that, and nothing happens. But if I now hit Control A and then C, it creates a new window for me. Now that by itself is nothing awesome. But if I do Control A P, I can go back to that, and then I can do Control A N, so I can go next and previous. What else can I do? I can kill a window if that bears no particular interest in, or if I'm done with that window. Yeah, I really want to kill that. So, and again, it's important to remember this is, if you imagine that I've shelled into a remote box, I'm doing all of this, I haven't got to have multiple windows open, I haven't got to have one for the log, one for the files that I'm trying to edit. But the cool stuff starts to come when I do stuff like Control A and capital S to create that, and Control A tab to jump between them, and then create a new shell in that window. And I can do it actually feels a bit like, I can resize it, and that colon resize, that feels a lot like Vim. So that's why I feel that using tools like this is so important, because you get, these tools have been around for so long, and they're throughout, everything we use, especially when you're working on Unix-based systems. things like for example, if I just jump back to that previous one, screen has a. How many people have done this? How many people use a Git version control system? Yeah, okay, so let's say that why is my laptop screen now so bright? So it's this thing where I've like got a massive log of things. Obviously the font size is massive, but imagine I've got a big long list of commits, and I just want that one. What's the usual thing that I do? I grab the mouse and I copy the hash and then copy it to the clipboard and then do git checkout and paste it. Don't have to do that with screen. I just hit Control-A, left square bracket, puts me into copy mode, and then I'm using the vi key commands here, and I'm going back through the scroll back. What I actually do is I can go, beginning of the previous word, end of the next word, beginning of the next word, and so I can actually then hit space to drop a marker, E at the end, hit space again, so then that's there. So now I'm doing git checkout. I'm going to do Control-A and right square bracket again, and it's pasted it in. So then, there you go. So I've checked out that. So, things like that copy mode, really useful. What else did I want to show you real quick? Have I got anything cool?
Vertical splits.
Yeah, vertical splits are fun, but you need the patched version. So if I just can kill that window. So I can do stuff like Control-A, and I think it's pipe character, and it does vertical splits, which are only for pros. It's only if you've got a patched version of screen. but yeah, that's pro mode, and it's really cool for that sort of stuff. So imagine obviously this is a boring connection because it's not a live box, but I can, let's just create a name. This is what I spend most of my life doing, watching access logs and then changing something and see if it works. This isn't my keyboard, by the way, that's my typing stuff. So, you can just imagine that you're on a remote box, and, you're on a production box and you're editing live code, which is really naughty and you should never do. At least that's what they tell you. And now you can get in there and you can edit files, you can write them, and you can then watch the access log and watch things actually happening, and you're doing that all over one shell connection. If anyone ever pulls a plug on you, then it doesn't matter because you can just get back in very easy. You just got the SSH back in, screen-D and screen-R and you reattach to the shell that you're working on. And I'm not expecting to convert you guys overnight. It's one of these things. They have all these weird key combinations, and I'm not expecting. But just learn mnemonics and stuff like that, and just try and get a feel for how these commands work, because they will boost your productivity. I use Vim as my desk. I've never used NetBeans or Eclipse or anything like that. I've used horrible tools in the past, but Vim I adopted as my real IDE. And because I'm using it every day, not just when I'm stuck on a box with nothing installed, it's just you know what you're doing, and you'll see your productivity shoot up through the roof. So that's it. Thank you.